Hi there, it's Simon Gray from Career Codex, and back with another weekly video. And I've got my trusted iPad with some notes to the blog post and also the podcast that I put out this week. And this week I'm talking about sometimes when we find it difficult to make a decision. So it's whether to accept or not to accept a job offer that we've been given, we've received. And then also how to resign in style, because once you've got the offer and you decide to accept it, well, how do you tell your current employer that you're leaving and you're moving on to something else? So this was prompted by an email I had from a lady called Emma. So thank you, Emma, if you're watching. This prompted this educational content this week, and I'll do my best to answer your questions as fully as I possibly can. So Emma's struggling with a dilemma. She's in a current position, and she's been offered a new position, and she's not quite sure whether to accept that position or not. And one of the reasons she's not quite sure whether to accept that position is because making decisions is notoriously difficult. This is when it comes to job search or when it comes to just general life or life in general. And it's difficult for two reasons. Because the first reason is, no matter what we say, as human beings, we tend to like certainty. We tend to like being in our comfort zone. So although we may never admit it, we crave the status quo, and moving to something new and different, while it could be the best thing for us, can sometimes be really challenging. It means we don't actually take the steps that we should take to move forward in life. So that's the first reason. The second reason, of course, is that we can't see into the future. Because if we could, and we had a crystal ball, then we'd know exactly what we were getting if we made that decision. And in fact, seeing into the future and what the outcome of our decision would be would help us make the decision in the first place. But unfortunately, there's no crystal ball and there's no certainty. So the fact that, first off, we like certainty, we crave the status quo, we don't like being on the periphery of our comfort zone for too long. And also the fact that we can't see into the future sometimes gets us to procrastinate and not to make a decision that we know we should make to move forward in life. And I've said this before in previous blog posts, that previous videos, that the quality of the answers that we get in life absolutely boils down to the quality of the questions that we ask ourselves and how honest we are with those answers. So, Emma, what I'd advise you to do, and if you're watching in a similar dilemma, I'd advise you to ask yourself 3 questions. And the first question is, why are you in the position to make this decision? So what's prompted you to be in this position to have to make a decision? So at some point in the past, you put yourself on the job market, you got into a recruitment process, and now you've been offered a job. But why did you get into that process in the first place? And was it something you created proactively, or is it something you're reacting to? Now, if you spent time planning what it is you want and you've gone after it, and this is the outcome of that, then it's probably the job that you should be accepting, because it's what you defined as your destination. I call it your destination in my books and in my education. It's the destination you defined. You've now arrived at that destination, and providing the offer is competitive, is probably the position you should accept. The challenge comes when you've gone into a process because somebody presented you with an opportunity. It kind of sounded good, but it wasn't really in line with what you wanted. And you're now faced with an offer and you're not sure what to do. Now, if this isn't in line with what you planned, then of course, maybe it's not the offer you should be accepting, because you might find yourself back on the job market in a few months' time, because it's not what you said you wanted. But the real challenge that people face is if they don't plan where they're going in life and with their career, that when the offer comes along, they've got no benchmark to say, well, this is what I said I wanted, now's the time to accept, or this is absolutely not what I wanted, so I should probably not accept this position. You know, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And before ever getting into the job market and thinking about a CV, a cover letter, approaching an employer or a recruiter, the first thing you need to do, once you understand how the job market works, on your own psychology in the job market, is to plan your career and identify your destination and put what I call a personal job seeker plan in place. Anyway, second question that Emma should ask herself: why am I hesitating? So there's a reason she's hesitating to accept this offer. And this could be for a legitimate reason, or it could be for not a legitimate reason. So for example, a legitimate reason is she could have found something out throughout the process, the recruitment process that she's been through, that's worried her. So she may have uncovered something as part of the interview. She found out a little bit more perhaps about the company culture, some things that have worried her. And as a result, there may have been some information that's come to light, because of course an interview process is a fact-finding mission for both sides of the equation. Something may have come to light that says, do you know what, this isn't the right opportunity for me. And if that's the case, then that's a legitimate reason not to accept the position. A not, or non-legitimate reason, if you want to call it that, a non-legitimate reason could be, well, what about if I don't get on with the people I'm going to move into this company? What if I don't get on with the people? Now that's not really a legitimate reason, because you don't know that. It's not evidence-based, it's not fact-based. And in actual fact, if Emma thinks back to when she took her current role, all the people she works with now were strangers at the time. And of course, as strangers at the time, she was probably had the same worries a little while back, but of course, they're not valid fears. And I call this confirmation bias. And essentially what confirmation bias is, we compare our current, we compare the decision we have to make with our current situation. So she's comparing going to work with different people she doesn't know with working with people she does know. And time is an element in confirmation bias as well, because we tend to compare our most recent experiences with what we're facing a decision about currently. So, this is not a valid fear, and there's every reason to believe that her new colleagues will become her new friends, her new people that she enjoys spending time with, and she'll have a great time in this new business. Third question is, what's the opportunity cost? Now, opportunity cost is if we make a decision to do something, or in this case, maybe not to do something, we miss out on something else. That's the opportunity cost. And I think it's a human characteristic that we're more worried about what we're going to lose than what we might gain. So, Emma has probably a fear of moving to a new organisation and leaving behind her current colleagues, the fact she knows the systems, the fact that she knows the setup, the fact she's comfortable in that environment, she's built a track record, credibility, and that's quite a big thing to lose. And thinking about that in isolation may warrant her to make the decision not to take this new position. But of course, there's the opportunity cost. What does this new opportunity look like? What could that give her in terms of new responsibility, new achievements, new contacts, new responsibilities, new challenges? What could that give her? And thinking not just about what you'll lose, but about what you stand to lose by not making a decision to move forward is just as important in making your decision. So how can Emma remove fear from the unknown, the future unknown? Well, one of the ways she can do this is by experiencing the business. And I talk about this as part of my interview strategies. This is one of the strategies to prepare for interview, to establish what I call a higher baseline to wow the interviewer from the start of the interview process. But of course, you can use experiencing the business to help you make a decision. And what I mean by this is that what Emma could do is suggest to the employer that now she's been made the offer and she's been through the interview process, which can be an artificial environment, that she comes and spends half a day in the business to really get to understand what the culture's all about, to make the right decision that this is the job opportunity that she wants. And she also needs to pitch this to the employer that it's good news for the employer too, because the employer will be convinced that she is actually making the right decision because she spent some time in the business. And this is an absolutely valid thing to suggest. She could spend half a day in the business working with her new colleagues, getting a feel for it, and she does this on her own time. This is not about taking a sickie from her current employer. Absolutely not. Do not do that. You will get caught. What it's about is taking some holiday, spending half a day in the new business to be able to be in a position to make an informed decision about whether this is the right opportunity. And this is something that you can absolutely suggest, but very, very few people do. And what it does, it takes your decision away from the artificial interview environment into a situation whereby you're in the business and experiencing the business as to what it would be like when you're working there, which is a very different situation. So, assuming Emma now makes the decision to resign, how should she do it? How should she do it? Well, there are 3 bits of advice that I would give her. The first piece of advice is to communicate things in writing but do it face to face. So you need to put a resignation letter together, if I can say that, resignation letter together. And this resignation letter needs to thank your current organisation for investing time in you, for investing in you in the past, to thank the current organisation for the time you've had in the business and say how much you've enjoyed it. But it also does something formal because it triggers your notice period and suggests a specific date as to when you believe you will be free to take up your new position. You write this to your direct line manager, but you also copy in human resources, HR, and you deliver this in person. You don't just post it or leave it on somebody's desk. You deliver it in person because that's the professional thing to do. And doing things in person goes a long, long way. So that's the first piece of advice. The second piece of advice is to keep it professional, never personal. Now, what I mean by that is when you resign to your line manager, of course, they're probably not expecting it. And they can have quite a negative reaction to it. Based on emotion, not based on the fact that you are resigning. And what that can manifest itself as is that you sometimes get a quite a strange reaction from them. And I remember when I resigned in the past from one particular role, my immediate line manager took it very, very personally. And he needed to go away and cool down a little bit and realised that, you know, this happens every day of the week. People resign, people move on. But because the line manager or your line manager has an immediate problem in trying to fill this position and fill your vacancy, then they can take it quite negatively. And my advice here, if that happens, you just say, look, I'll leave this with you. Perhaps we can talk about how we move forward a little bit later on in the day. And that normally diffuses the situation and calms things down. Last piece of advice is never burn bridges. A lot of people will tell you this, and it's really important because you don't know what's going to happen in the future. What happens if one of your ex-colleagues suddenly turns up in your new organisation as your manager? It could happen. So you don't want to damage relationships that you currently have. Even if you've had a bad experience and you've moved into this new role or are moving into this new role because you needed to get away from your current business because you didn't like it, you know, this is not the time to burn your bridges. You know, that ship has sailed, or that ship should never sail. Keep that to yourself. Move forward, and of course you need a reference from your current employer, which is another reason why you shouldn't burn bridges. So think about that, and also offer to do a complete and full handover. So you're leaving, you're creating a hole in the business, but offer to do a full and complete handover to somebody else who is assigned your responsibilities. And if you're at a senior level, of course, you can offer to help with the recruitment process to replace you. That's very important. So in summary today, and there's more information on the blog post at careercodex.com or the podcast on SoundCloud and iTunes. You can access this from careercodex.com/podcast. So think about the fact that when we have to make a decision, it's going to be uncomfortable because it's a period of change. But that doesn't necessarily mean you shouldn't make a decision. In fact, you should make a decision. You should make a conscious decision about what it is you're going to do moving forward, even if that decision is to stay put. And we all find decisions difficult, and it really boils down to asking ourselves some really clearly defined questions that helps us uncover the answers as to what we should do to make the best decision for ourselves moving forward. And of course, if you decided you're going to accept a new position, you're in the business of resigning, you know, remember the three things I've spoken about. You know, keep it, put it in writing first off. Do it face to face, keep it professional, never personal, and never burn your bridges. So that's it for this week. I'll sign off now. I'll be back next week with another video. If you have a question you'd like to ask me about successful job search or some of the challenges that you're facing, as Emma did, then please put a comment in the box below, and I'll gladly come back to you. Okay, thanks. Take care, and have a great week.